celebration, or a simple Wednesday night meal that you don't have to prepare, Chef James builds the platform for an incredible dining experience. And with a wide variety of styles and influences, you can be sure Chef will have the perfect menu ready for whatever your needs are. Oh, and by the way, fellas, looking for a romantic date night idea? Chef James offers private chef services as well. Think about it, just you, your significant other, and a beautifully prepared meal all in the comfort of your own home. Check out Harris Made Chef Services now on Facebook at Harris-Made, or give Chef a call at 609-816-5629 to discuss your culinary needs. What is up, everybody, and welcome to the Natural State Sports live fan reaction show presented by Harris Made Chef Services. Want to thank James Harris with Harris Made Chef Services for making this show possible every single week. Boy, oh boy, oh boy! I feel like I should have came to you last night after the game, but I think it was probably better that I didn't. It was probably better that I kind of decided to sleep on it and not come into this thing with a bunch of overly emotional responses. So let me jump over here real quick and see if I can share this real fast. And if you guys don't mind, share this out to as many different places as you can. We'll share it to some groups and stuff, maybe, if I can get that working here. So again, appreciate you guys joining us. You want the unedited version of this reaction show, then you might have to listen to the podcast this week, the High on the Hogs, HAWGS, High on the Hogs podcast with Andy and I. And man, yeah. So let's jump in here to the comments already. What's going on, Sean Whittemore? Appreciate you joining us from Denison, Texas. Terry Roy, I've looked over the play over and over, and it was a bam-bam type of play, and I can't see why they made the call, but they blew it. Or I can see why they made the call. Look, I get it. I do. I understand why they blew the whistle like they did, and we're going to get into that. I know that's what everybody's going to want to talk to, and feel free to flood the comments with your reactions to that. But, you know, the fact is it was a bad call. The officials should have never blown the whistle. They should have paid attention. The back judge was standing right there. He could see everything going on, and he just made a horrible play, or a horrible call, a horrible decision to blow the whistle. He made a horrible decision across the board. And we'll talk about that again a little bit more here in a bit because, it's highly frustrating what happened. So J.M. McCoy to leave the SEC and rebuild the old Southwest Conference. You know, so Will made a point in our group chat earlier today talking about, you know, everybody talks about going back to the Big 12, why we would logically, regionally would be a better fit. And look, we can get into that. This is y'all's show, so I'm going to let y'all kind of take this thing in the comments too. But you think about it, if Texas would if they quit coddling to Texas with the revenue sharing, then the Big 12 may not be a bad option at this point. The SEC surely is obviously not ever going to give us any sort of credit. We're not going to get respect from the SEC. That's been made painfully obvious. And I actually saw a video. And if I can pull it up here in a little bit, I'll share it on here. But it's on Twitter, and it actually shows a play between Missouri and South Carolina that was extremely simple or extremely similar. And am I not loud enough, or is the congregation yelling BS louder? As Mark Miller said, appreciate you joining me, Mark. John Wesley, appreciate you joining me as well. But yeah, I mean, you know. There was a very similar situation in a Missouri South Carolina game where South Carolina did the similar thing, turned around, spiked the ball behind him, the ball goes into the end zones, and whistle blows. Only one team. Missouri was the only team going after the ball. Missouri just kind of casually falls on the football in the end zone. They review it. exact same scenario, and they give Missouri a touchdown. So I don't understand. Again, inconsistencies make no sense. The incompetence of the SEC officials was on full display in the Arkansas game and other games yesterday as well. There was some really questionable calls in that LSU-Missouri game. Alabama and Ole Miss last night had some questionable calls. So, I mean, yeah, I'm just, It's highly frustrating what we saw yesterday, and we're certainly going to continue to get into it. You're right, Mark, and the whistles were blown. If you can, and I'll share it. Follow me on Twitter, Steve_NSS, and I can do that. But no, so yeah, I just. It's the exact same scenario, though. Well, not exact same, different play, but same deal. I mean, whistles blew, and within a couple of seconds, a Missouri guy falls on the ball, and they award him a touchdown. So, Jay McCoy, is this the same officiating crew that blew it for us on the same BS calls back in 08-09? I don't believe that was the same crew, because I think that would have if I remember that, yeah, you're right, Florida game, but I don't think it was the same crew, but it doesn't matter. It's the SEC. The SEC's had these issues from day one. The SEC has never, and really nobody really puts their officials on blast like they should and holds them accountable. And that's the story here, because Arkansas, what happened in the game is not going to get changed. What's happened in the game, won't matter. They won't change the record. I mean, to us, look, Arkansas is 2-1 right now, and that's not changing in my mind. Arkansas won that game. And look, let me make something very clear too, because I'm sure we're going to have some folks. Don's already saying missed extra points hurt us for sure. I don't blame officials. I typically stay away from the blame game with officials because there's so many judgment calls. There's so many things that can happen in a football game that you just never know what this what the rest of the game's going to pan out like. And you look at yesterday, there were times the fumble that got that got overturned, the play that got overturned on the fumble earlier. You had the DPI in the back corner of the end zone on Davion Warren that didn't get called, that was an obvious DPI. So I mean, you see those things that happen. Those things happen. Those are judgment calls, a bad pass interference call. I'm never going to blame a loss on an official for something like that. But what happened yesterday was just unacceptable. I said it on social media in several different places. Arkansas did everything they had to do to win the game. Could they have done more? 100%. They could have done more to win the game. Arkansas probably could have done enough to be up by 10 points, and it wouldn't even have mattered. The point is Arkansas was winning 28-7 when that play happened. Arkansas recovered the football. Arkansas should have been awarded the football and able to run the last 30 seconds of that game out, and they weren't. The officials took it away, and 100% that's on the officials. So let me roll back up here, make sure I'm not missing anything. And Terry, you're right. Hunter Yurachek said it just the same today. For fans, this will linger, but for the players, they've got to move on and look forward to Ole Miss. And you're right. Ole Miss looked really, really good last night against Alabama offensively. Defensively, they looked terrible. I think I saw a stat that said something like, I think in total yardage that they could have stopped Alabama in for the whole game, they stopped Alabama from gaining 74 yards. That's it. Alabama scored, I don't remember, I'd have to go back and look at the box score. Stupid numbers, over 700 yards of offense, I think. And 74 yards is all that Ole Miss was able to stop them for. The rest of the game, Alabama gained forward yardage the entire game. So yeah. Mark Miller says they took way longer to get on the ball than we did. You're right. In the Missouri game, I'm assuming that's still what you're talking about. And you're right. Missouri just casually went back there and fell on that football. Can't spike the ball after you fumble it. You're right. And Mark agreed we could have won it outright if we would have played cleaner, but still that last call was a joke. And let's see. Usually don't blame officials either. You know me, but that was blatant from Don. And J.M. McCoy, too bad I'm not in Pittman's shoes. I would have called it what it was and took the fines from the SEC. At some point, these coaches and ADs have to put their foot down and say something. James Pruitt, great show. Enjoyed sharing the room at Malvern. Hey, man, James, that was awesome. Yes, really enjoyed that. If you guys missed out on that, make sure you go back and check out the game. A lot of talent on that football field for Malvern. I was really impressed with Cedric Simmons. Not to get on a rabbit hole and talk about something else, we can bring that up. But yes, absolutely. Jay, I'm going to go back up to JM's comment for just a second because I agree. I do think that it would be, okay. I'm trying to make sure I want to make sure I get this right. So I 100% believe that Hunter Yurachek and Sam Pittman had major conversations with conference officials after that game that we'll never know about, we'll never hear about. And so, I don't have an issue with how Hunter came out, because what are you going to change? What's the difference going to be if you come out on social media and you make a big fit and you make a ton of comments and you make the university look bad? Here's the fact of the matter when you think about it. Arkansas looks like roses and sunshine right now in terms of the overall perception of the program. Think about four weeks ago what the perception of this program was 0-10. This team won't win an SEC game. COVID's going to screw this team. Sam Pittman, you go back and you look at people like Brandon Walker and others on social media who have dogged this Sam Pittman hire, who said Mike Leach was the best hire in the conference, who said, Lane Kiffin, best hire in the conference. Lane looks really good right now. Leach looks really bad right now. And Pittman looks really, really good right now. If you ask me who looks like through 2 weeks or 3 weeks of the season, who looks like the best hire, it's Sam Pittman, 100%. And so, when you look at what they've done, there's no question about that at all. And so, yeah, I think from a national perception standpoint, that replay's been played for 24 hours, and the perception is Arkansas won the game. The nation knows Arkansas's 2-1. The nation knows Chad Morris choked in a big-time opportunity and could only get his team against a ragtag defense of Arkansas, and we'll talk about that in a minute. A ragtag defense of Arkansas, he could only get 2 field goal attempts in the biggest moments of that game at the end. So the nation knows what happened yesterday. The record books may say 1-2. The record books may say we lost that game 30-28. The fact is, Arkansas won that game, and we're 2-1, and we know this. The nation knows this. National sports writers have given Arkansas so much credit over the last 24 hours. It's amazing. So, yeah, we lost. Not big on moral victories, and I really thought, as much as a lot of my buddies, we all hate to hear moral victories, there was a moral victory yesterday. And I think in the minds of even fans, there was a moral victory and a victory on the field. And even though we're 1-2, folks know how good this football team is right now, and that's without a lot of humongous pieces. So, overall, yeah, man, this was not a bad thing. It's a loss in a freaking weird year, but it looks really good for Arkansas. Let me go back up to some of these comments. Terry Roy's, the key to Arkansas this year will be how they use Traylon Smith. He is the best running back on the team. I'm gonna agree, and then I'm gonna disagree. I think Traylon Smith is the most complete. He's the most complete back right now. Rakeem Boyd has always had injury issues, and I hate it for him. I really do. The dude's a good running back. He's got talent, but he can't stay on the field. And if a guy can't stay on the field, last year it was just tapping his helmet wanting to come out of the game. And again, last year's a different story. But even this year, there's been times where it just doesn't look the same, and then obviously he gets hurt. We have the foot injury. We believe it's a hairline fracture, is what we believe it is. So. But yeah, Traylon Smith is huge for this team. We saw, we saw some of Spivey. Spivey's just not the same as either one of those guys. And I don't remember. Maybe we saw Dominique Johnson for a play or two, but that's a true freshman. So yeah, John Wesley asked, how good is this team? They're mentally tough, no fear, all guts. Yeah, no, I 100% agree. I think this team is good enough to get to 4 or 5 wins, maybe more, because LSU looks way gettable. I'm not going to say Alabama's gettable. I know their defense looked questionable last night, but we all know Nick Saban's going to fix that by next week. So, we could go through the schedule if we wanted to, but I like Arkansas's chances to get, 4 or 5 wins, which would be, really 6 or 7 wins or 5 or 6 wins when you look at, the fact that we won the game yesterday, even though it's 1-2. Mark Love asked how you feel about putting Hornsby in on goal line. We'll probably get into that too, but I'm not a fan of it. I thought it was a terrible play call. And again, we'll have the highlight video up here from War Machine here in just a minute, and we can go through some of that. But not a good decision. This is a good team. They are coming, says John Wesley. Don Gorky, Pittman looked like he was pissed after the game. I don't blame him. We got screwed. How do you not get pissed? How are you not upset about that situation? It was obvious what happened. I even heard national commentators being like, oh, well, we didn't really realize what had happened. I'm literally screaming at my TV, that's a fumble the second it happened. Like, I knew he turned around backwards and threw the ball down. That's a fumble. There's no question about it. So, I don't understand how an official standing right over it has a quarterback staring right at him and throws a football down, and they don't call that. But anyway, that's another, yeah. Mark Miller, that's one sequence I don't get, just like the Jefferson sequence last week. So one thing to keep in mind, so Franks was dinged up on that play. So if you watch, Franks was slow to get up after the little pitch play right before that. And so what I don't agree with is they should have just called timeout. Even if you want to run that scenario with Hornsby, if it doesn't work the first time, which it didn't, then call timeout and regroup, and let's figure out a way to get this ball in the end zone because, Hornsby's going to have his spot on this team, and Hornsby's going to do a lot of really good things for this football team, and he's got elite speed for a quarterback. But this isn't high school football anymore, and you're now outrunning SEC defenses to the edge. And so, no, I didn't like that call. I didn't like the scenario. I didn't mind them bringing Hornsby in, especially if Franks is hurt. Especially KJ looked lost on that scenario last week. So I hated the situation. I hated the play call. But, I get why he was in. But I still think, I'm with you guys. Bad play call, bad execution. These players are playing for Coach Pittman. They haven't quit on one play yet that I've seen. It's not the same team as last year, and yet you see the same names and numbers, if you know what I mean. 100%, man. And he said it. He said it just like that. If you watched or if you listened to some of the post-game stuff last night, Pittman came out at one point and said, he said, I told my guys in the locker room, I told them, gone are the days of you guys embarrassing this program. And I think that's a pointed remark at someone that was on the other side of that sideline. And so, these guys love Pittman, and it's obvious they love this program and they love playing for him, and it makes a huge difference. Mark Allen Love, that's exactly what I said. Don't know what they are trying to do. Jay McCoy, I'm just saying the SEC lets Saban do and say whatever he wants with no repercussions. Some of these other coaches got to stand up to the SEC and not be muffled. I agree they had conversations, but at some point you got to air it out for everyone. And I agree. And again, look, me personally, I aired it out on social media and felt much better about it. And you guys know, we all have actual jobs outside of all of this, so. You can't bite the hand that feeds you, I guess is the best way to put it. And I trust as good an AD as Hunter Yurachek is and as good a man and coach as Sam Pittman is, these guys, there's going to be talks. There's going to be conversations had. And it's not going to fix anything in our hearts and in our minds. It's not going to change the record to 2-1, but hopefully something comes of it. Look, I was going through social media last night and on Twitter following some Pac-12 guys, some Pac-12 national writers. And when comments in the Pac-12 writers are talking about, holy crap, SEC officials have become worse than the Pac-12 officials, or asking, did Pac-12 officials get borrowed by the SEC since they had nothing better to do? We got a problem, man. So, that's just, it's a mess, and I don't know how to fix it. I'm with you. JM, I'd probably be screaming at the rooftops because, Saban's kind of allowed to do it. Saban's allowed to get up there and act like a jackass and say what he wants, and everybody's, it's just Saban. So, sure, man, but here's the other thing. Saban has bought a lot of that with his success. And so when you have that much success, you can get away with it. If Sam Pittman turns this program around as it looks like he is doing currently, then Sam Pittman's going to earn some of that, the right to jump up and say things. But right now, the fact is, this is a 4-20 program that's 1-2 right now that needs to earn some respect. And yesterday, even in a loss, Arkansas went a long way to gaining that respect. Don Gorky, right? Even when they play happened, that was that way the first time I've ever heard the announcers flat out say, what's going on, Britt Henry? How you doing, man? Miss you, buddy. We got to get together real soon. J.M. McCoy, I'm extremely proud of how these players and coaches are performing regardless. We all can see this isn't the same quick culture this team has carried for about 4 years now. J.M., you and I have had some back and forths on social media, on Facebook, in our comments, and I like it when Arkansas is good because you and I seem to agree more. So appreciate it. I agree, man. What we saw the last couple of years was ugly and scary, and what we see now is a huge improvement. Don Gorky, it's good to see a coach with some passion on the sidelines. Isn't it, though? Like, I made that comment last week. Like, it was really cool to see Sam Pittman actually engaged and trying instead of who we had last year, who was standing down at the end of the sideline, chewing on his hands and staring at his mask or staring at his play sheet. So, and players that care. That's the other thing. These players come off. Felipe Franks is the real freaking deal, y'all. Like, this dude is incredibly good. And it's amazing. And the development that we've seen from these guys, they trust this coaching staff, and it shows. Caleb Sims, I feel like we should have maybe gone for the first instead of running the draw last drive. We had the momentum. You know, I said this before that whole situation happened. So I actually wish that Auburn wouldn't have missed the first field goal, because I think it put Arkansas in that, you know, that tried to get into that 5-minute offense or whatever we tried to get into and run the clock out, and we lost our edge. And I thought to that point that Briles had actually done a really good job in play calling, and we had Auburn on their heels a lot on those last few drives. And so, you know, I do agree. I think that Arkansas should have continued putting pressure on Auburn on that drive, and had we missed the field goal, or had Auburn made that field goal and we would have been down in that situation 30-28, obviously we would have had to do more to try to go down and score, at least get into field goal range. And I felt like that Briles and those guys decided, hey, you know, we're going to try to pound the rock here, get the yardage, and move the ball and run the clock out. And we didn't do it. We gave it right back to them. And that's what I was afraid of. And I said it in our group chat. I said it on social media that I really wish Auburn would have actually made that. Let's see. Mark Miller, well, the hand isn't feeding you. Well, Mark, the hand is feeding you in a big time paycheck at the end of each year, and even this year in COVID, it's still going to be a paycheck. So, you know, it sucks. But where else are you going to go? The University of Arkansas, like I said when we started this, you know, we could jump over to the the Big 12 and make way less money as a program and not be able to have some of the stuff that we have and the facilities that we have. So, you know, the SEC pays us a lot of money to be there, and hopefully we can start garnering some respect, even though obviously we haven't been able to for 20 some odd years. So congrats to Coach Odom for the turnaround on this defense. Odom and that defensive side deserves a ton of credit for what they've done. The heartbeat of Arkansas's football team is being resuscitated by Sam Pittman. You were 100% right, Terry. Anthony Avey says, so what makes anything you're saying right? Just shut up and take it? That's what you're saying? I'm not saying that shut up and take it. That's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is, in business and in the real world outside of social media, where we can talk all the crap we want and we can put out massive statements and we can say all this stupid stuff, in the real world of business, there's professional etiquette. There's things you have to do. Yeah, we're getting screwed. And is it corruption? I don't know. Is it corruption, or is it just literally the SEC's just the officials are just bad? Was it a situation where that group of officials and that group of replay officials said, we don't really know what to do because we're stupid, and so we're just going to go with what we think's supposed to happen? And now the statement afterwards does kind of lean towards your idea of corruption, because what the hell are they doing? Even the statement afterwards says, the statement after the statement the SEC puts out after, it was ugly. It contradicted everything they said. It contradicted what they told Sam Pittman. It contradicted what they told Hunter Yurachek. So I agree. But I do think that from my mind, from my perspective, the way I see it as a businessman, as a person that owns multiple businesses, you have to be careful what you do and what you go after. Again, look, I'm not saying that you got to be careful on how you do it and how you approach it. So Hunter Yurachek coming out and saying what we all know happened and what we all want him to say is not going to change anything. That's not going to make a difference. The national perception of everyone seeing what happened, and the fact that everyone in the nation, every major writers like Dan Wolken and other guys who have given Arkansas zero credit for the past 4 or 5 years, are all in Arkansas's corner. NFL officials are in Arkansas's corner. Everyone is in Arkansas's corner and bashing the SEC right now. And so for me, from that perspective, that's a win for Arkansas. That's how you create some sort of change, not getting out and acting a fool and looking stupid. I could compare this to some other things going on in the world right now. But how you enact change is you get out there and you work your butt off and you make change in the right avenues, and I really truly believe that that's what Hunter Yurachek's going to do. Sam Pittman's focused on this football team. Sam Pittman's focused on Ole Miss. That's done. Ole Miss is coming up this week, and that's where Sam Pittman's focus should be, and that's where this program's focus should be. And so I get your point, man. I do. I go back up. Anthony, I 100%. I'm with you. And look, I'm not trying to say I'm right. You don't have to agree with my opinion. I appreciate you watching, and I hope you continue to watch and follow us. But there are times when things can be done and said a different way. And so, look, I'm with Hunter Yurachek, but I 100% respect your opinion of wanting him to go after him. So J.M. McCoy, I'm just glad the team finally started to click on both sides of the ball in this game. I hope we wear Kiffin out next week. If there's one coach in all of football next to that jerk-off Harbaugh at Michigan, Kiffin is my second most hated coach. Kiffin's just smug, man. It's, the one thing, though, about Ole Miss is they'll never have a quality defense. It's kind of like there will be no defense played in the state of Mississippi. Let's just put it that way. Between Deion Sanders and Jackson State, they're not playing defense. Between, you look at Mike Leach at Mississippi State, there's no defense going to be played there. And then, of course, Ole Miss showed last night that they're not going to put together any defense. Lane Kiffin was brought there to fix the passing game, and he showed that he did that. So, yeah, I hope we stomp the dog mess out of Kiffin and Ole Miss. But I also just hate Ole Miss. So, Wes Roberts, what's going on? Big middle finger to Arkansas, and everyone in sports is acknowledging it. Woo Pig Suey, you're right, 100%. And appreciate Wes. Everybody, hey, make sure you guys go over and give Heart of Grace Outdoors on Facebook a follow. My buddy Wes Roberts there. We're doing a fun little show. Followed him into his tournament fishing, so really looking forward to that. And Mark Allen Love, this one play may have just drawn the national attention. BK to Arkansas. You're right, man. I agree, absolutely. All right, so let's see. You got a good group here. You guys, please make sure you share this. If you're in one of those, one of the Razorback fan groups, throw some shares over there. I was going to do it, but I haven't had a chance to jump over there. Facebook has changed how they allow us to share some of this stuff, and it's really annoying. So, all right, so let's hop over here. Let me get these comments out of my way for a second. And let's just go over let's hop into, where'd my scenes go? There we go. All right, so let's hop over here. First off, I want to thank War Machine on Twitter for putting these highlights together. On YouTube. You guys make sure you follow if you're on YouTube, go subscribe to the War Machine YouTube page. He is absolutely fantastic with his information, and his videos are awesome. Some of the best Arkansas Razorback highlight videos you can find. A couple more comments in here I'll jump into. Rodney Raines, it's corruption. Just look at the schedule. Arkansas, hey, 100% agree, Rodney, with that, too. Arkansas got absolutely screwed in that one, too. Brandon Ayers is the most excited I've been about Arkansas in a long time. Coaches that actually coach and can make adjustments during the game to actually make comebacks is great. Living in the middle of SEC country and being the only Razorback fan around has been tough. I bet it's been really, really bad. Out in Tennessee, that area, it's not been fun, I guess, really since we came down there and beat Tennessee a few years ago. So, yeah, I'm with you. Appreciate you watching, Brandon. J.M. McCoy, so far the way these boys are playing, I can't wait to see how much better this recruiting class comes out in February. That too, man. We've had the pleasure to have a few different guys, Jermaine Hamilton, Jordan, Lucas Coley, a couple of those guys on the podcast, and that's been really, really fun. Really looking forward to those guys. Some really quality guys coming up. We also had Marco Avant on last week on the podcast after getting to watch him play for Jonesboro on our game of the week. So, really excited about some of those guys. But you're right. And again, that national perception thing could really help in recruiting come February. Terry Roy, it's good to see Pittman and staff put the best players in to win games. Yeah, Terry, you're right. It's something to see. And what's funny though is they haven't hardly had a chance as to a choice as to who they can play this year. When you look at the fact that so many injuries have happened. So, but you're right. And Davion Warren is definitely the real deal. Dude is all kinds of fun to watch. So, all right. So let me hop over here real quick. Let me get this video going for us. And we will we'll talk a little bit about some of the game here. So let me get a little bit of sound for you. With wind and rain. So first thing, it's funny, the number of people that just swore this game wasn't even going to get played. But as we watch through some of these videos here, obviously one thing to take into account, the defense at times was really good. What hurt us in that first half and what really brought the game, or gave Auburn the 17 points was our lack of ability to tackle. It was obvious from the outset of the game, and I know Bumper Poole was kind of questionable anyway, but Bumper was obviously injured in this game. It looks to be a shoulder injury, and he was a liability at times out on the field. There were many times in the hole he would make a tackle or attempt to make a tackle and then fall off hurt. Mike Woods, that's another guy that had a really good game this week. Played extremely well. Let's see, who was that? That's in Hudson Clark, another guy. I know he didn't get that fumble there, but Hudson Clark was a guy that really impressed me. This is a guy that's a walk-on, freshman walk-on, and he's out there for Buster Brown, and he really shut down Seth Williams and the best receivers. For Auburn, really Schwartz was the only guy who was able to get off, and Schwartz is a guy that I was really afraid of with how much speed he has. So, and we really did a really good job on Schwartz for a good portion of the game. He got his, but not as much as I really would have anticipated he got. So this was about the point in the game where I thought Briles really started to find something. These inside zone draw plays, these little runs right up the middle with Traylon Smith, they really, really, really found some things at this point in the game, and this was when the game got really impressive for me. This is when Kendall got really impressive. This is a great play call here, finding Mike Woods in the back. Good catch by Woods as he brings that in. Nice little throw from Franks. Franks had a phenomenal game. Just watching these guys just continue to develop, some big-time plays. That's a great play by Franks to pull that out of the belly, find Woods in the back. So really good job there. At this point, this is second quarter. Arkansas is down 17-6 after the missed extra point. And, again, the defense really stepped up from this point forward. We had some moments, again, where tackling was extremely questionable. But, again, nothing that should have been an interception. Jalen Catalon, somebody said something about Catalon a minute ago and how he's playing with a chip on his shoulder. That dude right there, he's my favorite player on this team. 100%, no question, my favorite player on this team. The dude is really, really good, and that's a really good wide receiver that he takes that ball right away from. So, and again, Hudson Clark in on that play. And think about how fortunate Arkansas was. I don't even think it's fortunate. I mean, Arkansas was the better team, and this was this catch. Maybe he got away with a little push there, but Davion Warren, man among boys the last couple of weeks. Been really a lot of fun to watch him really kind of come into his own this season and show just how good he really is. So that play, really good, again, really good touch, or really good pass, really good catch. Great job by Davion to get up and get that ball. And again, I thought at this point, that's a great play call. Great little screen pass. They had a big blitz right up the middle. And again, just a great play call. Nice little face mask. Finally got a couple of calls in there, even though they took that. I think that's the one they took away on the called it just a clothesline tackle. But Warren, the speed of Warren is different. The development of some of these guys is just different, man. They just look different. Terry Roy, you may be able to speak to some of that as far as what you witnessed over the last few years, having a personal knowledge of what's been going on up there on the hill. But the development, it's just a different level, man. It's just a different level. You watch these guys; they're playing hard. They're making good blocks. They're making good decisions. So just wonderful execution by this offense and by this team. So again, you see this was actually really good play. Got fortunate that the field was a little slick, but Schwartz wasn't going anywhere on that one either. And so again, I was Schwartz is that one guy for Auburn that scares you, but this was a great play. Just fantastic job by Arkansas to stick with that and make that play. So if we'd have recovered that and been a fumble, they wouldn't have given it to us because it would have been after the whistle. Jay McCoy lost count, but how many quarterbacks have we went through since Austin was here? Well, somebody may have to help me with those numbers, but let's see what you had. I think it was 8 or 9 because you had Nolan, John Stephen Jones, Starkel and Hicks. KJ's been in there. I know I'm forgetting some great play by Hayden Henry. Hayden Henry played a pretty good game yesterday as well. Linebacker was a tough spot. But, yeah, you're right, JM. It's been a while since we've had a guy we can trust at quarterback. And I made this point last week. Franks didn't do anything special last week, but he won the game as a game manager. Against Mississippi State, he did what it was asked of him. He made the plays when he needed to, even though the offense was a little questionable at times. Some of the play calling was questionable. But Franks did everything that he needed to do to get Arkansas a win last week. This week, the game was more on his shoulders, and he got banged up. He got beat around a little bit, but he did exactly what he needed to do as the Arkansas quarterback to win the game, throw for over 300, 4 touchdown passes, just had a fantastic game. Yeah, Ty Story, Kelly, that's a couple more. So the starters they had the last 2 years went 4-20, and they continue to start them. Yes, musical chairs at quarterback and so on. 100% Terry. And the question though was development. Were they developing these guys? And they absolutely weren't developing these guys. So As we continue to watch this is Arkansas. Gets down to, I think we get to 20-18 right here. Yeah, good play call on 3rd and goal. Finding Treylon again. Treylon was the man on that drive. I think he touched the ball 6 or 7 times on that drive. So, really impressive drive there. And, Arkansas was rolling at this point. Again, I was impressed for all the hate that Briles has gotten through the first 2 weeks with some of his inconsistencies, the cutesy play calling. We didn't have any of that this week. We lined up, we played man-on-man football with this team, and we played really, really well, and we outplayed them. I mean, from the point it got to 17-0, this team completely outplayed them. This is a great play. Just a great design. You suck everybody up on the screen, sneak Kern out on the little wheel. He finds his place behind the linebackers. Just a beautiful throw and catch. Great job there. Another great throw here. He gets it over the linebacker, finds his receiver. Mike Woods with another big catch. Tony Rice, where was Burks? He is injured. I believe it's an LCL sprain is at least the word that I've heard. This play right here was was my favorite play of the whole day. I'm going to just go back to this because this is where the only time in the game from the time we were down 17-0 to the point where we got to this point, this was the one time, and we've talked about this earlier in the show, but this was where I was lost because to me, this play right here was phenomenal. I mean, you picked the perfect time to make this play call. You set it up perfectly. Auburn is all out blitzing, and I thought, oh no, Franks is dead. Just watching this play because Treylon is hiding. I mean, okay, somebody find Treylon Smith for me right now because you're not. Felipe Franks is getting killed over here. You got 2 guys that are about to murder Franks. Treylon is hiding between all these big old bodies down here, and just a beautiful little shovel pass. Big play on 3rd down. Difference in the game, honestly, right there. But a huge play, and then for whatever reason, I mean, again, obviously I think Franks was hurt. I thought it was the wrong play selection. The first time, sure, it didn't work, so find something else. Don't try to just sprint Hornsby out and outrun an SEC defense because he's not going to do it. Terry Roy, Woods, and Warren should have been used more last year. Yeah. There's a guy on this team right now, number 7, and I'm not one to talk down on guys. I think Trey Knox has got a ton of talent, but dude, where were you at yesterday? Treylon Burks is out. It's a day for Knox to really step up and be huge. And for all the arguments that we've had, I got it sitting here. This is going to be the field goal to make it 27-21. For all the arguments that we've had about should we have been kicking extra points? Should we have been doing this after the first miss? The fact is that when if Mike Woods catches the first 2-point conversion play, which was in his hands on a good throw, it was a little high, but he got both hands on it. He wasn't outstretched to get both hands on it. All he got to do was come down, and unfortunately, he took his eyes off the ball, looked down to make sure his feet were going to come down in bounds, and he dropped it. And then he dropped another really easy one later. I said Woods there. I mean, Knox. If Knox catches that ball in the back of the end zone, we're not even talking about any of this because Arkansas is up 3 points anyway. So at worst, we got a tie. Actually, Arkansas wins the game, I think. So, a big difference in what we think happens. And sure, I'm not a big fan of chasing points early, as it would have turned out if we would have just kicked the 2 extra points from there on, and we would have had a tie game at 27. And fine, sure, that's we can contemplate that and go back and forth. But the fact is that if Knox catches that pass, we're not even having this conversation. So again, Knox had a really bad game yesterday. Hopefully he works on that throughout this next week because we need all these receivers against Ole Miss because Ole Miss is going to score points. J.M. McCoy, I love Franks. He has balls and throws dimes. Most people forget that his best year at Florida was also his first year in a new system. To me, for this team, he was the perfect get because he's been there, done that, and won 10 games. I love how he's vocal with the guys on the sidelines, too. True leader. And you make a good point. I think we brought this up on the podcast this week, J.M. The one thing that I love seeing with Franks is he's not way up here. This is a really cliche thing to say, but he never gets too high, never gets too low. But it's true with Franks. He comes to the sidelines, and he's the same demeanor. He's excited, but he's not overly excited. He never gets down. We watch Nick Starkel and Ben Hicks and those other guys go to the sidelines pouting, upset. Even yesterday, watch Bo Nix coming off the sidelines screaming at Chad Morris. You don't see that from Franks. Franks has respect for his coordinators. He has respect for this team. He comes off the field. He's a competitor. He's going to get these guys on the sideline. Something bad happens, forget about it. He's going to let them know, forget about it. Move on. That's what you need in a leader. That's a leader, and Felipe Franks is a leader. There's no doubt about it. So we'll keep this going. Obviously, the field goal, which that field goal was a little scary, but it went in. Kicking again, special teams atrocious again this week. I cannot believe we are paying a guy to make us worse in that department. So, and not just worse, but the fact we can't even line up. Like we can't even get a line up right. Seth Williams had a tough day yesterday, but I blame some of that on Hudson Clark. Oh man, it's good stuff. I need a sponsorship from Sonic. Anybody got a hookup? I'm no Randy Rainwater, but I could use a Sonic sponsorship here. So, but again, Arkansas played really well from that point. It was 17-0 on. Arkansas did everything they had to do to win the game. Again, they could have done some other things differently, a couple things better, but they did everything they had to do to win this football game. And so, again, this was something else. They talked about this a lot early, and obviously we don't want Franks putting himself in bad positions. But, there were a few times early in the game where Franks could have just taken off, and could have done some bigger things and had bigger plays. So, Tiffany Hunt thinks the same thing about Franks. Thanks for joining us, Tiff. Tiff, you'll be upset to know that I'm going to Colorado this week, and I didn't invite you again. I'm sorry, but we're looking forward to the trip. Big play there. Again, Mike Woods, just another huge game out of Mike Woods. And, really impressed with what Mike was able to do in this game. Said it before, say it again. Mike Woods looked like the best receiver on the team outside of Davion Warren. Those two guys are special. We get Burks back healthy, and, man, good things are going to happen. This throw right here, man, that's a dime. That's beautiful. Hey, we got to watch that again. Hey, we got to play that one over because that is an absolute dime. And I remember yelling at my TV, Warren's open. He's got him from the moment he let it loose. But, this is beautiful. We'll back to the Woods play for a second, and then we'll watch this. The fact he comes off his spot, works into the pocket, which is a great job, and just a dime to Davion Warren for the touchdown. You can't defend that. Protection was good, and Franks, instead of rolling out and putting himself outside, he works himself back up into the pocket. Where he's got some protection and just dips that ball right up over the top. A great throw on the move. Look at this. This is a great angle of it. This is just beautiful. It doesn't get any better. That throw and the throw to Burks against Mississippi or against Georgia are probably, I think, the two best throws we've seen from Franks. So, yes, Tiffany, we do need another Colorado trip. It'll happen. We're going to try to go up maybe first part of the year when there's some snow on the ground. So, a lot of snow on the ground. Maybe we can go hit some mountains. So, Marcus Hakeem says, Traylon Smith reminds me of Fred Talley. Maybe a little bit. Was Fred that small, though? You have to remind me. That play was, okay, I don't know. Let me see. I haven't watched this highlight. Okay, I got to go back to this because this should have been, and actually we're going to get to the ugliest part of the game here in a second anyway, but I want to go back to this, and it doesn't show it, but I think it's Fouché that makes the play on the backside of this. I'm going to pause it for a minute. And I don't think too many people realize just how big of a play this is because if right there, and I think that's Fouché, I could be wrong, that's Hudson Clark, I believe, underneath, that's trying to on the coverage on Seth Williams. Seth Williams is going to catch this football, and again, I think that's Fouché. I'm almost certain, if y'all can tell, let me know. I'm almost certain that's Fouché that knocks that ball away. That's a fantastic play. Yeah, that's Fouché. There we go. Yeah. So that was amazing. Just absolutely amazing. And then let me just set this up. We'll go ahead and watch it, even though this should have never happened, and we can scream and holler about it. We'll let everybody just scream, yell, holler real quick. Here it comes. Absolute just insanity. Insanity here. Again. Someone tell me how there was the whistle. Let's just go back. Let's just go back for a second. Let's go back. So we're being told that this was not a clear recovery in enough time after the whistle. I'm going to turn the sound up a little bit, and we're just going to play this through. And somebody needs to tell me how the hell this is not recovered in time.
That 34-yarder to the right. And Nix will just clock it.
There's the whistle. There's the recovery.
The snap, picked it up, and then spiked it.
It
was a late whistle, but now a flag comes in.
What do we? I don't understand how there's any argument here. I know we've talked the hell of it. We've talked this up and down, one side and down the other, but that's a fumble. We all know it's a fumble, and it's a clear recovery after.
Watch him up the snap. They're not under center much.
And there's literally an official right there. Like right there. How does the referee not make that call?
pleading with the White
I mean, if the referee knows, if the referee has the wherewithal to make that call as it being intentional grounding, how does he not have the wherewithal to understand that he's looking the wrong way? And how do you not get a hold call right there on Grant Morgan? Grant Morgan gets to the football before Fouché if he's not held. I mean, so I don't understand that at all. None of us understand that at all. Sorry. We're all going to be mad about this for quite some time. So I don't know what else to say, guys. I mean, let me hop over here real quick. I'll look at the numbers, too. We'll bring the numbers up. I say we will. There we go. So let me get this out of my way. So, yeah, Hogs win 28-27. I don't care what this scoreboard up here tells me. Franks ends the day 22 of 30, 318 yards, 4 touchdowns. Traylon Smith leads the way rushing, 21 carries for 81 yards. Felipe had 15 carries for 28. Arkansas only ran for 2.8 yards per carry. They are going to have to fix that. And I think we'll have a chance to fix that this week because they're probably going to want to try to control the clock as much as they can and run the ball as much as they can against Ole Miss. And but they're going to have to run for more than 2.8 yards per carry. Davion Warren leads the way, 5 catches, 95 yards. Mike Woods had 6 for 81, and Traylon had 6 for 78. So a huge day for Traylon Smith, over 150 yards of, over 160 yards of all-purpose yardage. So really impressive there. Arkansas didn't fumble the ball at all. Bo Nix did fumble, even though we didn't get it. Jalen Catalon, leading tackler, 14 total tackles, 10 solo tackles. Number 2 on the team in tackles, Hudson Clark. Let's give a quick attaboy before we finish up here because I want to talk about one other thing that's really important that I think is huge when you look at it. Think about this. And we all hate Chad Morris, and I'm not going to bring him up too much more. Maybe 1 or 2 more times this week on podcast, but we all hate the guy. What he did to this program is despicable. His offense is awful, and it's awful at Auburn right now. Arkansas, and we heard Bo Nix come out. If you've heard any of the post-game press conference, Bo Nix came out in the post-game and said that, did you see what Chad Morris did? He proved he's a great coordinator because he led us down the field for the game-winning field goal. So what you're telling me is that Chad Morris is a great coordinator because on 2 consecutive possessions, you had an opportunity. One of those opportunities you started inside Arkansas territory. And the best you could muster against a defense that was missing their starting defensive end. They were missing their best linebacker. Even though Bumper Poole was in the game, he was hurt. He was not at 100%. He might have been 40% for this game. You had a walk-on at one corner. You lost your other best corner you lost your other best corner and had to replace him with a true freshman in Kari Johnson. And that's all the offense you could muster in 2 possessions was a missed field goal and then a luck of the draw, kiss Arkansas's ass on a bad call, and you get a field goal attempt and win the game. And that's the best you could do. Arkansas offensively outplayed them. I think I closed. Let me see. I closed that out. No, there it is. Let me go back to this for a second. Let me jump over here for 1 second. Total yardage, just so I got team stats. Total yardage, Arkansas 437 total yards, Auburn 446 yards. Auburn threw the ball for 187 yards, and there's been no question what Auburn has wanted to do is throw the football. And it's what they've struggled with so far is throwing the football. They did run the ball, significantly better. They averaged over 6 yards a carry. A lot of that, though, wasn't anything that Chad Morris did. It wasn't anything from a play calling perspective. It was self-inflicted, issues on Arkansas' side. Arkansas made a lot. We didn't tackle well in this game at all. And so it wasn't a scheme situation. It wasn't Chad Morris and Auburn didn't out-scheme Arkansas. Chad Morris and Auburn didn't do anything, eclectic and crazy to shut down Arkansas. Sure, they had a couple of good drives, but they've got talent. It's going to happen from time to time. A blind squirrel finds a nut every once in a while. And so, yes, Chad Morris had some success. But in the grand scheme of things, the offense that you told us last year didn't have enough talent to beat Western Kentucky came out and outplayed your offense at Auburn that has gobs more talent than what Arkansas has. I'm not worried at all about where Arkansas is headed. if I'm an Auburn fan, I'd be really, really, really worried about where Auburn's headed right now. Let me go back and look through a couple more of these comments. Make sure I haven't missed anything before we shut things down tonight. I think I've rambled on enough. If you guys want more of of our ranting, join Andy and I this week on the High on the Hogs podcast. That's out on any one of your podcast platforms. So find that. That pod will drop on Tuesday. We'll record it tomorrow night. And then that's HAWGS if you're searching for it on a podcast platform. Or just scroll down through our page on here on Facebook and let me know, and click on the links and you'll find it. But let me go back up. Let's see. Gary Adams, I'm over it. Bring in the next game. We're playing hard and getting better. Absolutely. Mark Allen Love, the same ref that threw the flag was the one Nix was yelling at. Yep. Jan McCoy, the thing I liked was Franks did everything he could all game long to keep getting positive yardage when plays didn't develop. Yes, he did. Brandon Ayers, I don't see how Morris managed to get a job in the SEC after his performance at Arkansas. Well, because him and Malzahn have got. Anyway, not going to go there. I'll let you guys finish that sentence for me. William Watkins, what's up, buddy? And Don, thanks, bro. Awesome job. Appreciate you, Don. Make sure you guys listen to the podcast. Again, this week we'll drop our reaction podcast on Tuesday. That'll be Andy and I. And then this week, a day early, we'll drop the preview pod with myself and Tyler Davis. Tyler would probably be joining us tonight, but I think he's over there watching an NBA basketball game right now. He might be a Laker fan. Anyway, so but join us Thursday as we'll drop the preview pod a day early this week. So you guys, we appreciate everybody. We're doing phenomenal on those downloads on that podcast, and we really appreciate everybody. Again, guys, go over to Harris Made Chef Services on Facebook. That's Harris-Made. They make this show possible every single week, and we really appreciate Chef James and all he does for our crew. Does a lot of tailgating events for us and really, really, really hooks us up. So we really appreciate that. Of course, we also really appreciate Lost Pizza Company a bit, and they're great sponsors for us as well. Chuck and the guys, go see them. Every Saturday they're going to have a game on, so if you don't want to watch it at home, obviously tickets are hard to come by. You want a great place, great food, great drinks, head over to Lost Pizza Company in Benton at 510 Highway 5 and sit on the patio, grab a beer, eat a pizza and watch the game. Just have a good time. Again, Lost Pizza there in Benton. And Jason Pilkington, I'll get that out in a minute. It's time to do all games and all conferences like we do bowl games. The refs are from different conferences. I don't know that make any difference, though. I mean, sure, there's a conference bias, but the bias isn't from the officials. Even in that situation, you think about it. All you had to do was your replay is in Birmingham, for goodness sakes. Like, those guys should have got it right. You know the rules. You know what it should have been. You know what the call should have been. Fix it. Have y'all seen the clip? And I wish I should have put these clips together, but there's a clip on Twitter, and you'll have to hunt for it, but it's been shared a bazillion times. And I thought the exact same thing when the guy was saying it. There's a clip of the official who's on the replay. He's looking at the monitor. He's talking to the folks in Birmingham, and he goes, oh, no. He knew they screwed up. They knew they messed this up, and they knew they were about to screw Arkansas. All the replay official had to do was make it right, and he didn't. So that's the last I'm going to say on it. Again, Arkansas is 2-1. That's the way we're looking at it going forward. It's not going to change my mind. Arkansas is 2-1. Look, if the conference can screw us and give us the hardest schedule in the history of college football, and they can do things like, we'll move LSU and the LSU-Missouri game to Missouri from LSU, which we've been told could never be done. We're watching teams that are losing games because of COVID pick up a game 2 days later, even though we've been told for years, we got a schedule 10 years out. If we can do all those things, then as Arkansas fans, we can claim this as 2-1, and Auburn and Chad Morris can kiss our asses, and so can the SEC. Arkansas is 2-1. That's how I'm going to finish this thing. Woo damn pig. Go Hogs. I'll see you next week. Oh, can you hear my kids over there? Probably. All right, guys. Seriously, I'm out. We'll see you next week. Listen to the podcast.